What's up, guys? It's Coach Sellers. We're looking at Dietary Guidelines. This is from 2010. So a few years ago, about 11 years ago, actually. Now, crazy to think about. But we're going to be talking about that. Dietary Guidelines and my plate. My plate being a very big portion of this, no pun intended. All right, so what is a healthy diet? Dietary guidelines describe a healthy diet as one that emphasizes fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and fat free or low fat milk and milk products. It includes lean meats, poultry, which is going to be like your chicken, fish, beans, eggs, and nuts. Also, in a healthy diet, it's going to be low in saturated fats, trans fats, cholesterol, salt, which is sodium intake, and added sugars. So some dietary guidelines from 2010. Prevent and or reduce overweight and obesity through improved eating and physical activity behaviors. Control total calorie intake to manage body weight. For people who are overweight or obese, this will mean consuming fewer calories from foods and beverages, especially beverages. Increase physical activity and reduce time spent in sedentary behaviors. Sedentary means you are sitting and not doing anything. Maintain appropriate calorie balance during each stage of life: childhood, adolescence, adulthood, pregnancy, breastfeeding, and older age. Um, Looking at this next slide, we should meet the following recommendations as part of a healthy eating pattern, and while staying within their calorie needs. Increase vegetable and fruit intake, which are super important. I highly recommend those. Eat a variety of vegetables, especially dark green and red and orange vegetables, and beans and peas. They're all good for you in different ways. They help different parts of your body. Um, Consume at least half of all grains as whole grains. Increase whole grain intake by replacing refined grains with whole grains. That could be through breads. Increase intake of fat-free or low-fat milk and milk products such as milk, yogurt, cheese, or fortified soy beverages like soy milk. Choose a variety of proteins foods, which include seafood, lean meat, and poultry, eggs, beans, and peas, soy products, and unsalted nuts and seeds. Why unsalted? Because we want to watch our sodium intake. Increase the amount and variety of seafood consumed by choosing seafood in place of some meat and poultry. You can actually eat more seafood. That's another reason you should like it. Replace protein foods that are higher in solid fats with choices that are in lower in solid fats and calories and or sources of oils. Use oils to replace solid fats where possible. Choose foods that provide more potassium, dietary fiber, calcium, and vitamin D, which are nutrients of concern in American diets. These foods include vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and milk/milk products. Food and food components to reduce. So, like I said earlier, we want to reduce our sodium intake. So, less than 2,300 milligrams and further reduce intake to 1,500 milligrams among persons who are 51 and older, and those of any age who are African American or have hypertension, diabetes, or chronic kidney disease. The 1,500 milligram recommendation applies to about half the U.S. population, including children and the majority of adults. You need to consume less than 10% of calories from saturated fatty acids by replacing them with monosaturated and polysaturated fatty acids. Consume less than 300 milligrams per day of dietary cholesterol. Keep trans fatty acid consumption as low as possible, especially by limiting foods that contain synthetic sources of trans fats as partially hydrogenated oils and limiting other solid fats. Reduce the intake of calories from solid fats and added sugars. Limit the consumption of foods that contain refined grains, especially refined grain foods that contain solid fats, added sugars, and sodium. That could be like cake. If alcohol is consumed, it should be consumed in moderation, up to 1 drink per day for women and 2 drinks per day for men, and only by adults of legal drinking age, which in the United States is 21. So we're looking at Choose My Plate. This is a really big deal. Um, ChooseMyPlate.gov, something that you can go to and kind of understand for a person your size, your age, what you should be consuming daily. So you see fruits, grains, veggies, protein, and dairy. So with my plate, we're going to balance calories. Enjoy your food, but eat less overall. Avoid oversized portions. Like if you're going to McDonald's, don't get it, biggie sized or large or whatever. Um, Foods to increase: make half your plate fruits and veggies, half of it. Make at least half your grains whole grains. So that portion of grains needs to be at least half of that as whole grains. You can find that in a lot of different types of foods. Switch to fat free or low fat milk. Meat and poultry choices should be lean or low fat. Foods to reduce: compare sodium in foods like soup, bread, and frozen meals, and choose the foods with lower numbers. Now, sodium in soup uh, is there so that it stays better longer. If you've ever looked at a can of soup, um, they last for almost 2 years sometimes. It's kind of crazy. Normal food that you don't um, get out of a can, I'm not saying normal, soup is normal, but um, it's just preserved more by all that salt in there. So make sure when you do have soup that you're adding water in it as well to kind of balance out that salt. Frozen meals as well have a lot of salt in them because of preserving, just like soup. They want to stay better longer so they can stay in the store longer and be able to sell more. Drink water instead of sugary drinks. I know that's easier said than done. I like the occasional Coca Cola, but when you think about it, a can of Coca Cola, 12-ounce can, you're looking at about mm, not quite half, but almost of that can is pure sugar. Vary your vegetables. Any vegetable or 100% vegetable juice counts as the member of the veggie group. Vegetables may be raw or cooked, fresh, frozen, canned, or dry dehydrated, and may be whole, cut up, or mashed. So a lot of different ways that you can eat your veggies. Mix it up, make it interesting for yourself. If you eat the same thing every day or the same thing every week, you're going to get tired of it. So switch it up a little bit. Switch it up the way you make it. It might be the same food, but the way you make it can make it taste different. So, looking at the subgroups there, like I said, different ways that you can eat your veggies. Focus on fruits. Any fruit or 100% fruit juice counts as part of the fruit group. Fruits may be fresh, canned, frozen, or dried, and may be whole, cut up, or pureed, which means when pureed, if you put it in a blender. So look at that, about a quarter of your plate. Grains. Grains are divided into two subgroups: whole grains and refined grains. It's recommended that at least half of your grains be whole grains, as I stated earlier. Any food made from wheat, rice, oats, cornmeal, barley, or another cereal grain is a grain product. Bread, pasta, oatmeal, breakfast cereals, tortillas, and grits are examples of grain products as well. Lean protein. All foods made from meat, poultry, seafood, beans, and peas, eggs, processed soy products, nuts, and seeds are considered part of the protein foods group. Meat and poultry choices should be lean or low fat. So, looking at parts of a chicken, you might want to go with a chicken breast over a chicken thigh. You might want to look at eating more fish and less steak. Um, Steak could be more fatty. Fish, are naturally more muscular, which means they're going to have less fat on them. So that makes them a leaner protein. So you can select a variety of protein foods to improve nutrient intake and health benefits, including at least 8 ounces of cooked seafood per week. I eat more than that, but that's the recommended amount. Vegetarian options in the protein food group include beans and peas, processed soy products, and nuts and seeds. Yes, you can still get your protein in if you do not prefer eating meat. Get your calcium rich foods. All fluid milk products and many foods made from milk are considered part of this group. Most dairy group choices should be fat free or low fat. Foods made from milk that retain their calcium content are part of the group. Foods made from milk that have little to no calcium, such as cream cheese, cream, and butter, are not. Calcium fortified soy milk, which is a soy beverage, is also part of the dairy group. So, what is on your plate? Looking back at choosemyplate.gov, I highly recommend you guys go to this website and play around on it. Take 15 minutes, just look at it. It could be good for you, it could be good for your family. So just, it goes on there to basically explain some of the stuff that I've already gone over. Make your plate half fruits and veggies, make at least half your grains whole, vary your protein food choices, and switch to skim or 1% milk. So this chart goes over the vegetables, fruits, grains, dairy, and protein foods. It explains basically the ways you need to eat, how to cut out sodium, how to be more physically active, and how much you need. So really take some time to look this over. You may pause this video. That may help you. But if you don't choose to pause, I would highly recommend going back and looking over this to kind of help you with any of the homework that I'm going to be assigning. And I'll also have the PowerPoint up there for you guys to click on. But hope you guys enjoyed this. I know there's a lot of information. You guys, different ages, you're going to need different amounts than your parents are going to need. So I would just go to choosemyplate.gov and kind of research what you should be putting in your body, what's going to make you the best version of yourself. Think of your body like a machine. If the machine has all the proper parts and is up to date on like the oils, kind of like a car, and fluids that it needs, then it's going to run properly. If it doesn't, it's going to get worse. So just something to think about.